Sake is a rice-derived beverage, so that is the source of the starches that we're going to feed the yeast to make an alcoholic beverage that actually had its beginnings in Japan. There's rankings of styles of sake and qualities of sake. So for us, what we're trying to do is to do a premium sake, and that's called junmai ginjo.
Bringing the people behind our food to life.
The actual Japanese culture grew up with sake. Rice came into Japan about 300 BC, and sake was started just after that. There are 4 basic ingredients: rice, water, yeast, and koji. There are different styles of rice. In Japan, they have hybridized these out, so some are meant for sake only, some are sake and eating, and then some are eating. For us, we do not quite have the variety they do in Japan, but we do have some quite nice hybrids, good for eating and for brewing. So 2,000-pound bags coming from a little bit north of Sacramento. So there's some really nice rice growing area, nice for us. And that's where all our rice comes from. To brew sake, you've got to do milling. A common sake, sometimes called futsu, the milling isn't as much, so they'll do 20%, maybe 30% milling rather than the 40 or 50% milling for the high end. There's a lot of fats and proteins on the outside of the rice that do not lend themselves to good sake flavor. So as you mill those off, you're going to get more and more pure starch. The more pure starch, the better the sake. We get our water from the mountains via the city, but then we have some extra filtration to make it to our specifications. We get our yeast from Japan, so it's Japanese style sake yeast. We're going to get that and we're going to grow it up. So we actually have a pound of Play-Doh looking yeast that is going to be enough to get this large batch started. We're going to get koji, and koji is the introduction of a second organism, a mold, which is actually grown in the rice. And it's going to exude enzymes. Those enzymes are going to actually break down starches, those from starch to glucose. It's the glucose that the yeast is going to eat. Once you've got that, you're going to add it into a big tank. You're going to brew it cool around the 50s, somewhat like lager beer. You're going to brew it for about 2.5 to 3 weeks. At the end of the brewing, it's going to be about 18% alcohol. The consistency of the brewing liquid is kind of thin porridge. We're going to press that. It's going to press clear. At that stage, it's sake. We're going to do a few stabilization processes like pasteurization to help get the flavor to remain stable. Age it for a couple of months, do a little blending, and put it into a bottle. Sake is its own category, but gets related to wines. Even though if you drink it, it doesn't taste exactly like a Riesling. If you want at least a jumping off point, I would say it's somewhere between a mixed drink and a Riesling. That's kind of where sake lies. If you look at the types of drinks that are commonly available in the United States, they didn't derive from the United States. Wines came from Europe. Tequila came from Mexico. Vodka came from Middle Europe somewhere. So that's really one of the things that we thought that SakéOne here was going to be able to take advantage of, is that we're going to bring another regional drink and make it into an American option, you know, a choice amongst choices. We serve our sake here in a wine stem glass. Good quality sake smells really pleasant, so why not put it into a glass that you can actually smell the sake? So we encourage put it into a wine glass.